just a signature. But there's a lot of things that could potentially happen. Another Chernobyl, Fukushima type event, world war. Look at what's going on in the Middle East right now with Israel. Things could get out of hand. We know that there's going to be tit for tat. There's countries that are raising their ugly head against each other, and they're fighting, and Russia's threatening, China's threatening. Russia said don't go into Syria to the United States, and so the world powers are kind of at a very tense edge right now. I think everybody knows that the economy of the United States is in deep, deep doo-doo. Anybody that looks at any graphs knows that it wasn't too long ago we were the greatest creditor nation on earth. We had more money than everybody. Now we're the greatest debtor nation on earth. We have more debt than 90% of the countries in the world combined. The economy could collapse. We could get into hyperinflation. There could be a pandemic. We came close last year to potentially having one where everybody has to be forced to be vaccinated. There's going to be people that don't want to be vaccinated. There's just a lot of things that can happen. We could have a natural disaster. Yellowstone could go. I really personally believe that there's going to be a lot of earth changes that are going to be taking place, gravitational pulls and things, and we're going to have greater earthquakes, greater weather anomalies, things like that. So there's a plethora of things that can possibly happen. And I believe it is because of all the people that I've already helped, the bajillions of people that have already left the United States and expatriated out of the United States, and then I already know that there are already millions of people that have left the country, but because of taxation, because of other things. But probably this is the other side of the coin that a lot of people don't look at. Do we have to wait till it's so bad that we don't want to live here anymore? Or do we look at it that there is somewhere or places, plural, on this planet that have a lot more freedom? They're tranquil, they're peaceful, they're real, they're just a better place to live. One of the things is that every single person that are listening to right now, every single person, unless they're a Native American or they're a descendant of a slave, their ancestors, their relatives, left the country of their birth and came to the United States. Now, not all of them came fleeing King George in England or war or something absolutely horrible. Some of them just came for a better way of life. They weren't fleeing inevitable death. But some people, like the potato famine in Ireland, we got a huge amount of Irish immigrants because it was so bad in Ireland. There was starvation. It was happening. So everybody listening to my voice, your ancestors left the country of their birth. And sometimes, they left their families, relatives. They left, in Nazi Germany, they left the grand piano, the trophies, the this, the that. Every possession they had and whatever they could carry on their back, they got out before the Nazis came forward and took over, almost all of Europe. There's going to be debtors' prisons, concentration camps, re-education centers, all those sorts of things. Stalin didn't build all those gulags to sit empty. Hitler didn't build all those concentration camps to sit empty. They were full to capacity. You don't spend that amount of time, energy, and effort building these things and let them sit empty. You know that you're going to fill them up, okay? Now, I don't want to go to concentration camp, neither do you. You're too intelligent, right? You don't want to end up in prison. There's just a lot of bad stuff that happens there, okay? But I don't think it necessarily has to be we're at that stage where they're rounding people up. For every one person that left, or you can say fled Europe on the march of the Nazis all the way across Europe, 21 people stayed behind and died. Now, not everybody died in concentration camps. They could have died of starvation. They could have died by actually thinking they were going to amalgamate into the Nazi system. They joined the SS, the Gestapo, or whatever, thinking that they would rise to power and they would be okay in this system. And yet they died, either because they were sent to the front lines or because of the war itself. So I don't think just going to the concentration camps is the only concern that we have here. They know, the people that go nameless, they do know that the world is coming to an apex, that there's going to be an economic collapse. We have rioting in the streets. We have rioting in the streets all over the world in first world countries and civilized countries because of the economic crises, because of a lot of different things. There's a breaking point for humanity, and we're seeing it all over the world as countries are being overthrown. It's just not the Middle East. It's not North Africa. I mean, there's some things that are going on all over the world. And we have this mindset in the United States, it can't happen here. Oh, my. I really struggle with people think that it can't happen here. It can happen. If a pandemic happens and there's people are forced vaccinated, how many people you know are going to say no to the vaccine? Okay? I happen to have lived in the hill country of Texas for the last 10 years of my life, and I have friends both in both spectrums, from the left to the right, etc. And there are people that are just itching for this thing to happen, okay? Whether it's, what do you want to call it, civil war or the collapse of civilization in the United States so they can take the country back. There's a lot of people that see this happening. They sense it's going to happen, and I believe that it doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. It could happen with like I said, Yellowstone. If Yellowstone goes, or some natural disaster, or some total economic collapse. Research Detroit, Michigan right now. Look at what's happened in Detroit with 30% or more unemployment. 100 square miles of empty houses. The mayor of Detroit wants to bulldoze, 10,000, 15, 20,000 homes because they're just completely vacated. When we have 20, 30% unemployment in this country, we could have a big problem on our hands that the government will want to deal with in a way that we're going to freak out over, I think. The particular country that I have my other home in has a nominal amount of crime compared to the United States, which Americans should have, is this. In the entire world, 7 billion people on the planet, there's about 9 million people in prison. 25% of those people are in the United States. The United States is 4.3% of the world's population, yet 25% of all the people in prisons are in the United States. Now, 4.3% of the population, but 25% of all the people in the world in prison are in the United States. That has never happened before except in Stalinist Russia, Hitler's Europe, Pol Pot, Cambodia, etc. There should be some concern about this. You would think with those statistics, the highest incarceration rate in the world, 50% of all the countries in the world have 1/10 the amount of incarceration rate that the United States has. You'd think all of our criminals would be off the streets and